Mall of America. It's home to world-class shopping, great dining, and amazing attractions and events. And these are our stories, presented by Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism. Hey, everybody, and welcome to So Much More. I am your host, Jill Renslow, for today's podcast, and we are talking about an annual tradition, something that families look forward to every year. And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, so we're going to give you the tips and tricks to set up your back-to-school shopping. So joining me today, I have Emy Dominguez. She's our marketing manager here at Mall of America, and Madeline Nachbar, who is the trend and style editor for Minneapolis-St. Paul magazine. And we are going to talk about what students are wearing, what's influencing their shopping lists, where families are looking for value, and why back-to-school shopping has become so much more than simply checking items off a list. So Madeline and Emy, welcome to So Much More.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me
here.
I love this time of year. It's that transition from summer to fall. Everybody's out getting all their fun back-to-school things, stocking up their fall closets and getting everything ready. So Madeline, I would love for you to start with us. Big picture, what are you seeing for back-to-school trends?
Yeah, for trends, I think we've kind of seen this come onto the scene for a couple years now. That, sense of individuality, personal expression, and personalization. That's a big one. Do you want me to dive into that one now or kind of a little bit later?
Sure.
I think just, it's funny. It's an interesting time for me to be talking about this with you now. My oldest is starting kindergarten this fall. So this is my first time actually doing back to school shopping. And
very fun.
It's fun to see, how kiddos are reaching for, whether they're wearing uniforms, maybe they aren't, but how they can kind of show off what they're about, their personal style, their interests type of things. And that's, through everything from your daily water bottle to, the bag charms that we're seeing, which is such a resurgence from like Y2K era, that I lived through as a child. And, bag charms and kind of plushy, keychains, that kind of thing. Backpacks that show off, their favorite movie characters.
Backpacks are a big
Huge
thing.
deal.
That's like the item that, especially for the little ones, getting their very first backpack to fill it up with all their goodies. It's a very special item to find.
That was definitely the exciting kind of pick among my kids. I have a preschooler and a kindergarten. The backpack was a very tough decision, important to them. Personalization, customization, whether it's like patches, monogram, that kind of thing. And, we're seeing that even, infiltrating into adult consumer habits as well. What else from a trend standpoint? Oh, kind of a resurgence of like, sporty inspired. Kind of like seeing how that can, I need to grab a drink of water quick. We just talked about having a bug in my throat and now it's happening to me.
To your point, I think the patches is so great too. We're seeing that with even retailers. Addicted a few weeks ago had a denim patch event too, where people can add their own patches, personalize those things. So I think those are making a huge comeback too with denim and backpacks and really all sorts of things.
All of that.
What I love about that trend is it's something that can be very inexpensive, but yet add a great flair of something personalized. Because when you're young, especially, it's hard to invest too much, first of all, from a parent perspective, but also having those fun things that they can be part of, they can create or they can select, and it's things that you can change out too because it's not a super expensive item on the list.
Totally. I mean, it even trickles down to like the little, what are they, the jibbitz, like go on the Crocs, just like little decisions that kiddos can be involved in and helping them kind of show up in the world.
So age it up a little bit when we're starting to talk about junior high, high school. What are some of those bigger trends, maybe specific pieces, colors, fabrics? What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, definitely kind of that, back to that Y2K resurgence 90s, whether that's through like utilitarian kind of cargo inspired, baggies everywhere, whether or not we like it, kind of looser fitting silhouettes, the lower rise, that kind of thing, baggy on baggy, graphic tees and, things that kind of could play back into the personalization element too. But kind of the graphic tees, the kind of marrying the high and the low or, fun juxtaposition of like a baby tee with a, wider bottom, a lot of those longer skirts and those, looser fitting pants. What else? Sneakers. I feel like, and even just shoes across the board, it's kind of that resurgence of what we saw in the 90s and early 2000s, like the Doc Martens, the loafers, the sneakers, kind of those slim, low profile, kind of retro, kind of runner inspired sneakers, which come in so many fun throwback colorways.
We have a lot of fans in our office that love their sneakers.
Yes.
And, it's comfortable too. It's really important, but you kind of have different sneakers for different purposes, whether it's athletics or if it's street or it's stylish, like like there's a lot of different things and you can have a lot of fun. I love all the new colors that are out there and you can really style an outfit really cute.
Yeah, and it's like there are no rules anymore with kind of those like sporty leaning pieces, right? Where I feel like in the past it used to be like sneakers were, reserved for your athleisure or kind of you're running around your casual days, your errands, that kind of thing. And kiddos now, they do a really kind of fun job juxtaposing those sportier pieces, like those track jackets we're seeing everywhere, those track pants, those shorts, with kind of a more elevated top or bottom to kind of give it an interesting edge a little bit, which I'm definitely seeing a ton of across the board, different ages, especially that junior high age that you asked about.
I love the mixing and matching, and I love the high-low trend as well, because you can have a few items that you invest in that you feel are more special, and then you have those other versatile pieces that you can mix and match more. So I like that high-low, and especially because different price points is good for a variety of different families and what they can afford this season.
And they're really, that's exactly it. They want to dress like their friends, but they're also getting a ton of inspiration from their friends. It's an interesting age. And I'm sure we're going to dive into that with like digital and tech and all of that. So it's just kind of a funny thing to witness.
Yeah. Emy, anything to add?
No, I think you're totally right. I really go back to the ballet flats, the new Adidas ballet flats. Those are
sneakerinas
super,
is kind of what I call
those
them.
are so popular right now, and they can be dressed up or down too. I think I'm seeing that a lot with that like teenage audience too. So I think a lot of that athleisure is coming back. We have a lot of athleisure here too. That's been really popular. Lulu, Aritzia, they're coming out with that like crossover of the nice dress pants, but they're also that like athleisure material too, which I know kids are loving these days too, which is really nice to see.
Definitely.
Especially when you have the high schoolers that are starting to look to kind of upstyle their wardrobe a little bit, starting to get those pieces as they're entering the workforce and things like that. Like they're great alternatives to the dressy clothes that you eventually grow into. But you talked about kind of influence. When you look at TikTok, Instagram, are there specific things that maybe parents should know about that are out there that are trending that they should be aware of, that their kids might come, pulling on their sleeve a little bit of, hey, we need to get some of these trendy items, anything that you guys are seeing on TikTok and Instagram?
Oh my gosh, I'm seeing so many back to school hauls specifically for people coming here to the mall. So I feel like it might not even be necessarily pieces, but stores. I feel like I'm seeing the same stores with some of this like young teen / high schooler audience that like airy, to your point, where it's like the athleisure or the like loungewear that you can dress up or down, Aritzia, where you can find like those staple pieces. So some of those, I think it's a lot about what I'm seeing is the stores that people are shopping at rather than some of the pieces. And when it comes to pieces, I think it's a lot of those staple items that are going to maybe cost a little bit more, but last you a long time. That like capsule wardrobe sort of style.
Certainly, I think it's a great kind of avenue for people, getting inspiration, but it's also a little bit of a slippery slope too, right? Because content has never been so readily at like youth's fingertips, right? It's ever evolving and ever changing. And the trend cycle, I think we're seeing it play out. Trends are constantly changing and evolving and coming up to the surface so much quicker than usual, just because, with that, infiltration of social media. And so I think that's definitely where they're getting inspiration. I always find it so interesting, like what makes a piece go viral, whether it's those try-on hauls that you just talked about or a specific store and a piece. And it never ceases to amaze me how just like that, a piece is hard to track down, whether it's just a little quarter zip or a track jacket or something. And it's just such a different way than we grew up, right? As far as like where we were getting our inspiration, just that trend cycle and those micro trends and those kind of aesthetics that we see play out and how they kind of gain momentum and just it's fascinating.
Well, I think there's a lot of smart shoppers out there, especially the younger generation, looking for like thrifting type of finds, when they can find a dupe or something that, they have that inspiration from social. So it's like you don't have to get those expensive items, but you can be inspired to find something that's similar and looking for the secondhand or finding those opportunities where maybe there's a lower end opportunity for them to match that style. So what about colors? What are you guys seeing for colors for the fall?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not going to go with a color, but I'm going to go with like a pattern. I'm seeing a lot of polka dots, tons of polka dots, stripes too. I feel like stripes are really in more like color blocking where it's like you mix match a lot of like those bigger popping colors are really big right now too. But I would say it's more like patterns is what I'm seeing.
Yeah. And then, you hit the nail on the head too with the colors, which I feel like we're typically kind of primed and trained to believe that like fall starch is kind of neutral heavy, right? It's camels, it's black, gray, navy, you know, kind of that argyle, those plaids, all those things that we see. I'm seeing just especially what we even like, you know, what started at the runways and it all kind of trickles down, right? Bright color, bright, you know, color blocking, kind of that return to like maximalism dressing has totally been an interesting, you know, pendulum shift coming off of like kind of that minimalism, kind of quiet luxury aesthetic that everyone used to talk about. Bright color blocking, you know, just pairing, you know, an unlikely pairings like a red with a pink or a, you know, a purple with a yellow, that kind of thing, as well as polka dots, plaids, checks, you know, argyle is kind of those fun, like quintessential, like rite of passage fall prints, as well as, you know, animal print, but in kind of fun ways, like obviously leopard, you know, cheetah, that's kind of a neutral and something we expect to see come onto the scene in the fall, but those kind of fun like cow prints and the zebra, that fawn kind of deer print, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, even like with texture too, like it's not always just the print, it's also the texture too of like those prints that make the pieces really fun or those staple pieces.
The mohair, some of that fringe. Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's definitely not easy to transition from summer to fall because that first day of school, the kids really want to put that first new outfit on. And oftentimes it's either long sleeve or it's denim or, you know, it's a little bit for the cooler weather. So any thoughts on kind of those things to look out for that first day of school photo?
Ooh, I think layers. Layers is always good. Layering on some of those pieces, like having like a really fun jacket as, you know, you're getting to school. Maybe it's like a little colder in the morning, but then having, you know, taking it off, having those layers, I feel like is really fun. To your point for that first day of school, you kind of like mix and match your outfits that way too. With your school picture is having some of those layers. Accessories too. Scarves are really big right now. Bandanas too, where like those headbands are really fun right now too. So just layering, accessorizing, I think would be really fun for that first day of school look.
Well, we recently did a survey for back to school. We've been doing this the last couple of years to really get a gauge of where people are at, where they're spending, what they're looking at. And we had 65% of the shoppers actually purchase back to school items after seeing it on social media. So coming back to that, it's such a driving influence. Are there specific people to follow or brands to keep an eye on or any advice that you have both for the young people that are looking for these items, but also for the parents to maybe get tips and tricks?
It's a good question. I think right now, the people to look for are not even really like influencers. It's just like normal people doing their hauls that are blowing up right now. So just like a simple, like on any social media platform is looking up back to school haul, looking at those, leaning on those people that are like the ones going back to
real,
school. Yes,
totally.
Yeah. They feel more realistic, is leaning on those. And then parents too, it's like, I'm not in school anymore, but I think it's so fun seeing what people are into. My sister's in high school, so I love to see what the kids are up to. Also kind of staying cool, you know, letting her know that I know about the trends. So really just leaning on the real life people that are doing their unboxings and their hauls for back to school.
And sharing, I think that's a good point about, of course, we all have our favorite influencers to follow and they, you know, serve a certain purpose online, but some of those kind of real approachable voices too that are sharing like what's working, what's not working, and they're giving kind of honest takes on products more so because, you know, maybe they're not getting paid to do so. They're just kind of creating content for the sake of creating content that's useful for both parents and kiddos alike, certainly.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about kind of the throwback or bringing some of those things forward, and we continue to see this in trends from entertainment to fashion to just all the things that we touch here at the mall. And actually the survey also said that over 41% of the shoppers said they would purchase brands or products that they enjoyed growing up with. And I think whether that's something they saw their parents enjoy or something that is just coming back into the marketplace. So anything that you would see in addition to the athletic kind of throwback piece, anything else that you'd see in fashion right now that's looking at more of that nostalgia feel or inspiration?
Yeah, I think it goes back to kind of a macro trend we're seeing as far as like the younger generations are kind of craving that like analog kind of vibe. Like it's like getting out and shopping in real life and kind of whether it's, you know, the 90s, whether it's early aughts, kind of the bright colors, the prints, some of those things, like kind of that old school Americana, those stripes, that kind of thing. It's fun to see that, like, you know, how we wore that someday and how it's kind of being readapted and kind of, you know, shifted to kind of meet the kids today. You know, it's just so true when it comes to fashion. What goes around truly does come around. And, it's always humbling to see those things come back onto the scene when we once wore them. But but it's also fun to see them kind of put their own personal spin on a trend or a piece as well, and kind of how they make it a little bit more modern.
For sure. I cringed when you said the low rise. Yep. I was like, I thought that was gone.
Certainly.
As much as we all love having them a little bit higher rise.
Yes.
But are there any other trends? I mean, you guys are younger than I am. I mean, I'm seeing things cycle through now multiple times through my generations being alive. Any other trends that you're like, is that really back? Are we really doing this again?
I'm seeing a lot of the fold over yoga pants again coming back, like very like juicy couture style.
Okay.
Some of those like matching sets, maybe not like the super blinged out like they were back then, but now they're just like more put together. So like those sets are coming back to like I said, juicy couture. Oh my gosh, what else? Even just, I know we have a few products here on the table, the fold over or like the really fun ruffly socks too. Those are really popular, very like schoolgirl style.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like those are coming back. Even with the Adidas ballet flats too, those are super popular, making them fun, customizing them, making them your own.
And the socks are another good example of like, maybe you can't bust out all that new stuff you bought for the school year. It's too warm. We'll get in, a fun sock, a piece of jewelry, an ear stack, kind of a fun arm party or neck party or something to kind of still show off like something fun and new that you bought, but maybe the weather doesn't allow for it yet.
I love that. You called attention to the table. We've got some goodies out here. Anything else you want to call out? I know you guys talked about water bottles, like personalization. That's a big thing. We've got a lot of different stores here that offer water bottles, and customization. Water Drop, I know, is a great one for getting that personalization. Anything else on the table that you'd like to call out?
Oh my gosh, the Neatos I feel like are so popular, which I love. I feel like it keeps people busy. It keeps them like distracted, but in a way that they can still pay attention to. I'm all for the Neatos. I have one myself, but they're really nice. Like they don't cause a major disruption in the classroom or whatever it is. It just like keeps you busy. It's fun. It's pretty inexpensive too. And it doesn't have to be a Neato. It can be any sort of fidget. So I think right now kids are just so focused on being on their phones all the time, and just putting their attention into multiple things at once. So having just something physical you can mess around with while you're in class without causing a disruption, I think is really nice too.
Yeah. Do you have those all over your office? Because they are all over our office.
I don't, but I'm like, I think
everybody brings them to meetings. Everybody has their Neato. It's very
good
funny.
to know it's not only reserved for the kids.
That
sounds like something
for kids of all ages. That is for sure.
Are you guys still seeing the Labubus and kind of all those plushies? I found it so crazy how quickly they came onto the scene.
Yeah,
they were
ask
everywhere.
Emy, how many Labubus do you have?
I call them my children. They're all dressed too. So I have plenty. I think, yes, they're still really in, but also people are transitioning, maybe not from like Labubus, but to those bag charms, like DIY bag charms. Some of those, like we have some fun attraction ones like Patrick and SpongeBob. So not just Labubus, but other things to hang on your, whether it's your backpack, your purse, your tote, whatever that is. So something similar to Labubus, but not necessarily Labubus exactly, just really fun things you can customize to your own style.
And the grown-ups and the parents have been getting into the bag charms too, not just the kids.
Absolutely. Whether it's the scarf or the charm, you gotta dazzle up your bag. So people are going to be looking for deals. We're always looking for a good sale. So looking for a value, what would you say, where you maybe should invest a little bit more in? That might be, to your point, like a capsule collection, like something that you might have for a little bit of time versus something that's a little bit more trendy, maybe shorter life, but also recognizing that these kids grow fast. Having two children that are out of that stage now, it's like, man, I felt like every 6 months I was buying new shoes or new pants, and it's like, it's a lot. So help parents guide them of like where should they spend more of their money versus where can they find some more deal saving opportunities.
I think certainly the items that get the most mileage, whether that's a great bag, a backpack, and things that kind of go through a lot of wear and tear. There's an argument for, spending a little extra buck on that just to make sure that it does, stand a longer time, as well as kind of those just elevated basics, things that you're constantly layering and wearing different ways. I think a lot of people can kind of scoff and roll their eye at like spending X amount on just a plain white tee or a nice, sweater, whether that's a wool makeup or a cashmere blend or whatever that is. You do I think you do get what you pay for in that aspect, and ways that you can kind of style them up or down or in different pairings that they can look like a different piece entirely, but you can just be creative with how you're wearing it. I think that's worth your money. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Just investing in those staple pieces that, to your point, you can layer. But what I'm seeing a lot from retailers now is we're seeing a lot of promotions or the retailers that sell denim or shoes, they're the ones that usually tend to have more of those sales right now too with back to school. So maybe leading on some of those sales to invest in those shoes or pair of jeans. And even some retailers, we're seeing that maybe they might not be like a thrift retailer, but they are having events where they focus on that sustainability. For example, Fabletics, I believe it was last weekend, they had a trade-in denim event where you can trade in a pair of jeans, whatever brand, and you get a brand new one completely free. All you have to do is just trade in. So it kind of leans into that thrifting sustainability feel, but still, within one of our retailers here. So in using the deals to invest in some of those pieces like denim and shoes that are typically more expensive, but then spending that money on, to your point, the white t-shirt or the tank tops that you can layer, and then just buying some fun accessories that you could layer on the scarves, the headbands, whatever that is too.
Mm-hmm. No, I love when these retailers are being creative and leaning into sustainability, because it is a lot. There are a lot of products that don't get wore very much that they need to trade in for that next size, as I was talking about. So I think it's really smart that they're doing that. And we have a lot of that information on our website. So as you look at the back to school content, whether it's deals or the stores that are featuring some great new trends and some different items, definitely coming. Because I think people rush to feel like they have that one back to school shop, but we see that here where it's like, come out and check things out, get a few things, go back to school, and see what everybody else is wearing, get a few more things. Yeah. So if parents and families have the opportunity to do that, to be able to go back multiple times, it's nice to be able to mix it up a little bit. But the back to school experience is really more than that shopping list. I would love to talk about that more, because we see that it's a tradition. It is something that families look forward to, whether it's parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles bringing kids out. It's a lot of fun. So what are you guys seeing in that space as more of an experience versus just that shopping list?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I were talking about that right when I got here. I was so excited to take my little guy, out to the store. It was a morning just for he and I. And, I know there are many options now on the market about like your back to school shopping in a box, and everything is, online and easy now. But there's something about that going back to school, regardless of what grade you're going into, can bring up a little, some nerves. It can be a little bit chaotic. And it's like making this kind of fun tradition, kind of this experience with your family, your friends. I think it speaks to a broader trend too that we're seeing just in retail in general. And of course you can touch on this much better than I can, but it goes back to kind of that analog like experience, like unplug and unwind and kind of explore and make it, retail's all about experience now. You're shopping, but you're dining and you're maybe playing mini golf, or, you're going on a ride, or you're checking out a new experience. And I think that's what consumers are craving in today's retail world, because that can't be replicated online. So why not translate that to back to school shopping and make it, kind of a memorable experience for everybody?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think back to school shopping necessarily isn't always about how many pieces of clothing you get. I think it's really about like, you're going to go back to school soon. Schedules are going to get busy. You're not going to maybe spend as much time with your family or your siblings, whatever that is, but it's really a time to just spend together. Yeah. I feel like when I think of when I went back to school shopping, I don't think about the items that I bought or my parents bought me. It was more about like, oh my gosh, we had so much fun, spent a whole day shopping, but also we went out to eat together and we like had that family time together. We, went on a ride or two. So we made some of those memories. So I think it's really more about finding that, to your point, unplug time together rather than what you're purchasing. Yeah. It's really just about making those last memories before you have to go back to school, and it gets a little chaotic.
Kind of like a reset, you're ushering a new season, whether that's for the parents as they're setting the kids to go back to school, or the kids actually going back to school themselves.
So do either of you have fun memories or traditions that you had when you were young that you hold to your heart and then hopefully, pass on to nieces and nephews or your own kids?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, such a good question. I think it's just about the spending time together, really just like picking out pieces like with my siblings, and I'm the oldest, so also watching them grow up, see like what they were into.
So you didn't get any hand-me-downs. You had, no. You were the lucky
they got
one.
all my hand-me-downs. So yeah,
let me tell you, I was the youngest of 5 girls. I had a lot of hand-me-downs, so sometimes you were the lucky being number one.
But yeah, just really that spending that time together. Like I knew like, we would all be together for the full day. So just making those memories and knowing that, my brother was in sports, so my parents would get really busy with him. And so it was just so nice spending that undivided time together and just getting little treats along the way too. I think people love to get their treats nowadays too. So just some of those memories together. were my favorite.
We were not surprised to see that almost 70% of the people that responded said that it was more than just shopping. It is about the experience. And especially here at the mall, we love when people can come and spend the whole day or weekend. And we get a lot of drive market families, so they're coming to not only get their back to school items, but also to create those memories as a family and go on rides and go for dinner. So we love to see that. And we also, seeing this resurgence, especially the younger generation, of wanting to be in person and be in the mall, and the nostalgia of shopping together with friends and finding all those fun treasures and deals. Anything else with regards to that you're hearing from the retailers or you're hearing from the industry about just this resurgence of coming back to the mall to enjoy shopping in person versus online?
I think it's just that that element of like connection and community. I think it's so easy to get lost behind our screens, and those certainly serve a purpose, and they're not going anywhere, whether we like that or not. But it's like, remembering kind of what it's all about, and it's about connecting with our friends, with our families, that kind of thing. And it's fun seeing some of the teens, prioritize like crafting, like that's a big thing, or, taking up new hobbies, or, make sourdough, that kind of thing. It's fun to kind of see the pendulum swing the other way a little bit, where they have this tech, but also, taking time to journal and, the art of the handwritten letter, that kind of thing. It's fun to see that. I am seeing, speaking just to retailers across the board in the metro area, that those categories are actually performing really well, kind of those analog focused kind of experience products. I assume you're seeing the same thing here.
Yeah, definitely seeing a lot of that too. Another thing I'm seeing that retailers are really leaning into is allowing their employees to create that content too. Like, for example, our garage store just expanded, and a ton of their employees were creating content, and it just seems like they were letting them do that, which was so fun to see. Like, they kind of showed you behind the scenes, like setting up, opening up the store, what's in store. So I think that's fun too, is they're kind of becoming ambassadors for these brands, but people maybe lean on them a little bit more than an influencer or creator, because they're there every day working. So I think that's something that I've been seeing a lot from retailers, is letting their employees kind of get a little bit more freedom with what they post and giving those behind the scenes looks, which I think the younger audience is really enjoying right now.
Anything else from our retailers that you want to plug?
Oh my gosh. I think just leaning into those deals too. Something I always tell people is use your student discount, use your teacher discounts. I feel like people forget that you can just use those discounts. It doesn't always hurt to ask. Right now on our back to school landing page, we're showcasing all our retailers that do take those student discounts. So leaning on those, not just now during the back to school season, but to your point, like going back to school, seeing what's trending, and then coming back and purchasing more items too once you're back in school. So making sure you take advantage of the deals that are available to you.
I love that. So what's one final piece of advice that you guys have for shoppers, whether that's the kids going back to school or their parents, something that will help reduce the stress, build the excitement, and get them ready for the back to school season? Madeline?
Yeah, I'd say it doesn't all have to happen in 2 days. And it also doesn't all have to happen before. It sounds kind of, a little bit contrarian, but it doesn't have to happen right before the first day of school. You can kind of start to ease in. Of course, the supplies, those things have to be purchased. You have the teacher list, that kind of thing. But from an apparel standpoint or an accessory standpoint, we just talked about how influenced kids are by their peers, by social media, all of that. Undoubtedly, a child's going to come home after a day or two, a weekend, and say, I saw that, pair of sneakers or that jacket or that something, and they're going to want to add something to their, wardrobe. So I think listening to them too, and kind of helping them guide you as well, starting up front and getting a couple things, getting the lay of the land and ready to go. But it doesn't have to be this kind of quick, one and done process.
Yeah, absolutely. I think creating maybe a list of what I absolutely need to get today. Like my kids' shoes are just destroyed and they need new shoes. Getting your wants or your needs, but then also leaving a little bit of room for what your wants, or maybe leaving room to discover a new store or stumble upon a new attraction. Having that flexibility. You don't, especially I feel like coming to the mall, it can be really overwhelming, but also let yourself just discover things. And you don't have to have a super long list of every single store you need to hit. It's just, what do you really need to get today? And then have fun with the rest of it. Enjoy it. Take it all in.
I love the experience edition. Get the things and then go on a ride, or get the things and grab a bite to eat. That was my memory with my mom growing up. I'm the youngest. my older brother. So hand-me-downs sadly didn't work for me, but they're 5 and 7 years older than I am. And they were in the sports day, activities, like those summer sport or those fall sports started as early as summer. And my memory every year was just out to lunch with my mom. Who knows what I even bought at the time, but of course I thought it was the most important thing. But really I remember that act of going out to eat with her and doing something fun, or maybe go to the pool after, do something. It was that day carved out for just the two of us to kind of, get back to school ready, and it's just forever grained in me.
We always talk about you don't remember what you purchased, but you remember who you were with and how you feel. And that's what's key. And one of the tips I would share is set a budget and let the kids be part of managing that budget, no matter how old they are. Because if they start selecting things that are the most important, then they might cost a little bit more, then they have to fluctuate, on some of the other things. And it really helps teach the kids how to manage money a little bit. And it's kind of fun when they get a good deal, then they know they can get more. So we did that with our kids, and they actually really enjoyed it. It made it fun. I thought it was going to create more stress, but it actually helped them kind of stay within the guardrails. And it was a good little lesson with it too, and we had fun with it.
So I'm going to bookmark that one for me for my
as they get older. Well, Madeline and Emy, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited for all of you to head back to school this fall. It's such a joyous time for so many families. That time goes fast. So enjoy every year. As they say, the days are long, but the years are fast. So enjoy each and every one of them. We love celebrating with you and creating traditions here at Mall of America. So we will see you when you come visit, and tune in next time for so much more. Thanks for listening to So Much More, a Mall of America podcast. Subscribe wherever you find your favorite podcasts. This show is presented by Bloomington, Minnesota Travel and Tourism.